You are listening to the Vaultcast, the official podcast of the B-Movie Film Vault, with your hosts, Jordan Guerin and Silent Steve Oldford.
Hey everybody, this is Jordan Guerin.
And Silent Steve.
And this is the 6th episode of the Vaultcast. We're coming to you live from Steven's kids' playroom, surrounded by toys and dolls.
Yeah, which has its own horrifying feel to it.
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess this week we're going to go ahead and, like we promised, talk about Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, this isn't going to be the two-parter that we were planning originally.
Yeah, well, life happened. I mean, we're not professional podcasters, if there is such a thing. I mean, there are people who that's all they do, but I mean, and we're also not celebrities who do this as a hobby, so, you know, life finds a way. I mean, I'd worked 72 hours one week and like 64 hours the next, so we were both lost in the forbidden zone.
Yeah.
And
so, yes, this is our Planet of the Apes episode, and we're going to discuss the old movies very briefly.
Which we have to.
Original,
yes, you have to.
And then we'll get into Rise briefly, and then, more importantly, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which we just saw a few weeks ago.
So this is going to be a totally spoilerific podcast, as all of ours are. I mean, so if you want to see Dawn, go ahead and go see it. It's very good.
It's excellent. It gets 2 thumbs up straight across the board.
If you haven't seen it already, it's been out a few weeks. And we actually were going to record this right after we saw it. We saw it opening weekend. Yeah. But then it was during my birthday party, and we just couldn't find time. So where do you really want to start with Apes? Should you start with the first one?
You gotta start with the original.
Planet of the Apes, beyond your wildest dreams.
What do you want to say about it?
Well, we watched it about a month ago?
Yeah.
Just because I haven't seen it in a while. You haven't seen it in a while. And it starts out like a cheesy, typical 70s sci-fi movie. Like, we were kind of cracking up over the design of the ship.
The Blu-ray looks really good, though.
It does look good.
Yeah.
Once we actually got into the movie, though, like, we were kind of joking around a little bit.
It pulls you in.
It pulls you in.
It pulls you in like any good movie should, with the story rather than the special effects or the way they shoot it. The makeup is good. That guy actually... I wish...
What?
I should have wrote his name down.
We're doing that again?
Yeah, he's the guy who you've seen the movie Argo? Have you seen that?
No.
Okay, well, Argo is the Ben Affleck movie. Yeah. That's something that really happened, where they made a fake movie production to get Iranian hostages out.
Yes.
And we're not hostages. I think they were just hiding, and they needed to get them out.
It was the embassy that got taken over,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And did they not find them, or were they hiding inside?
They were hiding and waiting for a way to get out before they got caught. So the guy who did the makeup for Planet of the Apes is the guy who set up the fake production. It's the same guy in real life. So he's not only a great makeup artist, he was a good person to do something like that. And it's one of those great backstories. I didn't realize that that's the guy who did that until I started researching the movie. There's what surrounds Planet of the Apes sometimes is more interesting than the movie itself. But it's definitely had some John Chambers.
John Chambers?
Yeah, that's his name.
Okay.
It has a lot of staying power. It's definitely a classic movie. It was well received when it came out, and it hasn't diminished since then.
It's got so many themes. There's so many different.
There's themes about religion and human rights. I know you said it seems like it's an analogy for slavery. I think it more like visually references slavery, but it doesn't really. It's not really about slavery. Yeah. There's human slavery in it. Yeah. But this movie came out. The original Planet of the Apes came out near the tail end of the civil rights movement. It was this notion in the country that everyone deserved equality, and they did. Mm-hmm. But there were people who looked at other people as subhuman.
A planet where man is the lowest order of living things, and the superior beings are apes.
So there was it was out there, like these themes that we look at it anachronistically, we're looking back in time, and we don't know how people felt when they sat in the chairs. There are these themes of human rights and civil rights that pop up through the first movie. Yeah. It all goes away after that. It's like the guy...
Well, it comes back again when you get to the later entries in the series.
Here and there, but it's
not as
strong. And it's the atmosphere. It's like any movie series that sticks around for a while. The atmosphere of the world outside of the movie influences the story. Yeah. By the time, because there were 5 original Apes films.
There's 5 original.
By the time you got to Battle, which I think is the last one.
That's the last one.
A lot of what influenced the writing and the themes of the first one had kind of diminished in public by that time. So really, you're just continuing the story to get people in the theater, rather than something that needs to be said.
I do like the original's take on religion versus science.
Yes.
Because in their society, both are supposed to be like equal. Like,
and what's funny about it is that religion knows better the whole time.
Exactly.
The guy heading up, the main ape,
Dr. Zaius.
Dr. Zaius.
Yeah.
Knows the truth the whole time. He knows flight is possible.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that there were humans before.
Oh yeah.
He knows all this information and
But he
still
keeps it quiet.
worships the great ape.
Yeah. Because he's terrified of what humanity can do.
Yeah.
Because they've destroyed the world once, and they will do it again if given the chance.
It's
Nobody believes.
His character is the one who brings in the dangers of religious piety and self-righteousness.
Oh yeah.
I mean, these themes unfortunately will be eternal, but I think it was very influenced by the time and the things that the country was going through. I remember when we were watching it, though, I kept saying, like, when Charlton Heston first escapes, right before he says, "Get your hands off me, you damn dirty apes," or when he's escaping, I told you, look at how they frame this. You can see he has nowhere to go. They do a wide-angle shot. They're following him around. He has nowhere to turn. You can see everyone that's chasing him. You know everything that's going on in the action scene. And it's more gripping than any of the shaky cam crap that comes out now. Because you know what's going on. You can see the peril that the character is in.
Yeah.
It's engaging. When you don't know what's going on, you don't know all the peril that the characters are in, you never really know if they're going to get out, if they can get out. So you really don't know the level of danger when they do these close-up shaky cam shots that they do now. I was just watching. It was so refreshing to see an action scene where I understand what was happening around the character. It was just a relief. And it was something I had seen before, but like seeing it again reminded me of why I liked it. That's what you run into when you go back and revisit series like this. So what did you think of watching it again? Like, what happened? What popped out to you when you revisited it?
Nothing really popped out to me. I mean, I was familiar with the movie, but it pulled me in. Like, at first, I mean, we were kind of picking on it a little bit.
Yeah.
And making jokes, but once they got into the meat of it, when Bright Eyes there is captured and trying to communicate, and finally does, it just pulled me right in. I was like, you were trying to talk to me, and I was like, what?
It's pretty timeless. It jumps from theme to theme. And it's the first movie I can think of where it has the big twist at the end.
Yes. Yeah, that's still a pretty good twist.
It's laughable. It's been made fun of, but it's a good twist.
Yeah, because then he learns the truth. You know, Dr. Zaius had always known the truth, and then Charles.
Well, I don't know how much truth Zaius knew. He just knew that.
He knew there was a human-like being prior to the apes taking over.
Well,
which also, you know, the movie also echoes that fear of nuclear holocaust, not just from the Earth being destroyed, but like, you know, back then, every monster movie was like radiation was the culprit. This is why there's a giant spider, Godzilla, or something.
Yeah.
So I think that's what helped create the apes, the intelligent apes. They mutated and took over for us until the sequel came out.
Either that, or humanity died off enough that they became alpha predators and evolved.
It's possible.
Either way, my one hang-up with all the movies, and they didn't get into it, is how they knew English.
Or who wrote the Sacred Scrolls?
For all we know, they're trying to tie Caesar into being the Great Ape.
In the current film, you mean?
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like they're trying to connect.
No, that was a reboot. It started things fresh. Boom. I still like it a lot. It's if anything, it's closest to Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, well, and Caesar is a character in that.
Yeah.
But it could
I like
just be a
that one
name.
better for certain reasons. Because there's a reason for. I mean, there's a reason for all the apes in the new one, but in Conquest, a virus kills off all, the domesticated pets. All the dogs and cats are gone, so we start taking apes in as pets, and because they're more intelligent, we start training them to be our servants. But the one scene that I really like in that is when Caesar goes up, and like the apes have to pick their name out of a book, and that's how he gets his name. He chooses Caesar on purpose. Mm-hmm. It's not just like, we'll call this baby Caesar.
If you ranked the original 5, that would be number 2, I think.
Yes. Yeah, I would go with Conquest at number 2, Escape at number 3, Battle number 4. I'm not a fan of Beneath.
No one is.
Yeah.
It's mostly humans.
I think that's why it fails.
Yeah.
It's cool how they retconned it, though. Like, how can you have more apes movies if the planet blows up at the end of Beneath? And it's like, Cornelius and Zira and another scientist found the ship in the first movie, somehow got to start and took off and went down the right wormhole.
Yeah. Yeah,
But I'm okay with that.
It's another case of Hollywood struggling to be creative to keep something alive so they can get more money.
No, they don't do that.
Yes, they do that. No one is ever dead in a movie, really.
That's true. And at the very bottom is the 2003 remake of Planet of the Apes.
I don't even want to talk about that hunk of garbage. Really, like, it was just, I mean, it missed, and that's a great thing to point out. It missed the point.
Yeah.
Like, the first movie was not about apes. It was about the dangers of society being against progress.
Yeah.
That's all it was about, okay? If you had to sum it up, and what they did, they just used anthropomorphism, which is just putting human characteristics. Disney does it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Putting human characteristics in an animal to understand its behavior. Well, they used it to understand our behavior. And because you're looking at an ape, you're just looking at the ape's behavior instead of looking at a human being and like identifying with them. You're looking at an ape and watching an ape be against the chance of flight, be against open-mindedness or religion or scientific progress because of the fear of what it will do to society when you're not really living that great to begin with.
Yeah.
They build the cities, make the laws, the gods, and control the guns that hunt a race of lowly, terrified humans who run wild in the jungles, are caged in the prisons, and stuffed in the museum.
Tim Burton lost all that.
Well, he tried to keep that because the main character, General, what the hell was the ape's name? Like
General Douchebag, I think.
His whole thing was that he knew humanity was responsible for destroying the planet prior to the apes rising up. Because the Charlton Heston monkey told him.
Yeah.
Those damn dirty humans. Ah.
Yeah. But it missed it missed the point.
It was an effects movie.
It wasn't entertaining. It wasn't good on any level. It didn't feel like a Tim Burton movie by far.
Yeah, it's weird. Well, you know why? Because you can't make all the monkeys pale. He probably loved Congo.
Edward Scissormonkey. No, it's just it's everything that's wrong with Hollywood wanting to do a remake. Is what it is. If you ever want to know what's wrong with Hollywood doing a remake, watch that movie and compare it to the first one.
Oh yeah, and it misses the mark with the twist ending too.
It just misses.
It makes no sense.
Misses the mark right from the beginning. So, I don't want to get into that. I think it's good that they did what they did with Rise.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And while Rise wasn't a great movie, it was good enough for you to ignore how bad some of the CGI was.
Well, yeah.
Rise kind of like stayed afloat with Andy Serkis's performance.
Well, everybody, I saw it twice in the theater, and that scene where Caesar speaks for the first time, where he's being abused there by
it's
Malfoy,
Goosebumps, yeah.
You know, everybody, like, I remember the second time I went, like, the first time, like, the whole audience was like, and then the second time, God love this guy, there's some guy a few seats ahead of me, and, like, Caesar was like, no! He's like, oh, shit! And I was like, yeah, alright.
Yeah.
That movie should elicit that kind of reaction. A lot of them don't anymore.
Any kind of reaction would be nice. Any kind of emotion, to pull out of the audience other than just to eat popcorn and stare at lights. No, it was a goosebump moment, and it built up to that moment, and you didn't know it was coming. Okay? At that point in the movie, I was okay with him not saying anything.
Yeah.
I was okay with the sign language. I was like, fine, they're going to do like a Project X kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was good, and then it was great at that point.
Yeah.
And
I love
what's uncharacteristic about it, as far as all the Apes movies goes, it was such a happy ending. Everything worked out for the apes.
For the apes, yes. Humanity kind of gets the short end.
Well, that's later though. We didn't know that at the time.
Thanks to Tyler Labine.
All right, so I don't want to gloss over the originals too much, and I can't help but feel. And every time we do a podcast, like I'll listen to it after you edit it, and I was like, I forgot to say that.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm just gonna move on right now. Okay. I know there's something in the back of my mind I haven't said yet, but I'm just gonna move away from it because I want to get in.
Things. The original is amazing, and then Conquest is very good. Escape's fun too. Battle is not so bad either. I like that one to an extent because humanity and the apes are trying to coexist in that one. And what's funny is just like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, it's not a human. Well, I mean, humans come into the picture later to try and kill everybody. They're like radiation-scarred people from the ruins of a nearby city that are just trying to conquer, and for really no reason, I don't think, right? Just because they hate the apes.
Well, they are radiation scarred.
Yeah, but also, like, the main villains is actually one of the apes. It's the general that murders Caesar's son. Yeah. I kind of like how they face off towards the end.
That was at a point, like I said earlier, where they lost all the original themes.
Yeah.
and they were finding ways to keep it interesting just with events happening in the story.
Other than
Burton's reboot, there aren't any that I really dislike, and I'm just really glad that everybody hated Burton's reboot. I'm so happy. Can you imagine that getting a sequel?
No, Marky Mark trapped in a world of apes with Abraham Lincoln.
Stop that!
Abraham Lincoln sitting on the.
Stop that! Because that's what I was going to say about Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
That's what that is. That's the other side of the coin.
That's the story of Abraham Lincoln.
That's the true story of Abraham Lincoln. So,
I just want to get into Dawn because I'm ready to shower it with praise.
Caesar, you have to go. Go where? Apes! Together! Strong!
It takes place right after the events of the first movie. You just see news reports and see a map that shows the spread of the simian flu, they call it.
Yeah, it had a 28 days later feel. They didn't really use newsreel footage, but they had the world and like where the continents were. They were like photographing newsreel footage through that. So you always saw the shape of the world, and these are the things. It was a great opening.
You see the
very creative
downfall society and civilization.
Yeah. Well, and it catches you up to everything that's happening without a bunch of exposition.
And James Franco was gone.
Not
a lot of
totally.
people were surprisingly happy about that. I was like, really? You hate him that much?
Yeah, but it didn't feel like they moved the story ahead to get rid of James Franco.
No, he was a casualty of the...
It felt like the way the story needed to go.
Yeah.
And you do see him, and it's not in a bad way. You see him in the movie, just not in a bad light, and I was okay with that. That was kind of irrelevant to what they're doing, though. What I want to say about Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is that it's probably one of the best cowboy movies ever made. Because it's cowboy and Indians. That's what it is. It's cowboys and Indians. You have the Indians living peacefully. I know I should say Native Americans, but I'm talking talking about cinema.
When have we ever been politically correct?
I'd like to try.
We try.
But, like, you know, just to make things more understandable, I'm going to say cowboys and Indians.
Okay.
But you always have, like, an Indian tribe who are living peacefully, and then cowboys want something that's there, and there's a conflict.
I never looked at it that way, actually. Thank you.
It's basically that. I mean, they even have war paint on and everything.
And
They're living out in huts, and there's just so many.
Spears.
But they're living peacefully, and they're coexisting together very well. And then
that's one of the rules etched on the walls of their home: is that ape shall not kill ape.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting notion that, I mean, it might be what you got going on in the Gaza Strip right now between Palestine and Israel. Just the fact that the other side exists brings conflict, and the other comes. Yeah. Whatever the other is, the other comes into the peaceful existence of what the main characters were, and the apes were the main characters in this movie. Yeah. Which is awesome.
A smart idea.
It was an awesome idea. Yeah. Because the consequence is that the humans, because they're not main characters and they're just interacting with the apes, is that they're very one note. Mm-hmm. Every character that's human in this movie is one note. There's one thing they're about, and that's it. Let's break it down. You got Commissioner Gordon there.
Gary Oldman.
Who is Commissioner Gordon
Basically.
now? Yeah, I think he even has the same glasses. I don't even think he did a costume change. Like, he was leaving the set of Dark Knight Rises and went right to this set. So you have Commissioner Gordon, who's doing everything he can to save humanity.
I know why you're scared. It took us 4 years fighting that virus, but we are survivors.
The thing is, they're running out of fuel, power, everything.
It's a very basic idea that everybody can get behind. Yeah. Having a simple idea like that doesn't hurt your story, okay? You don't have to make things... Yes. You don't have to make things endlessly complicated to make it seem like the story is good. Yeah. That's the worst thing you can do, really. If you have a very basic idea that people can get around, and then you do the complicated, relatable stuff outside of that, it should branch out from there. So the trunk of the story is that humans need to get the dam working so that they can survive.
They need the electricity for the lights, for the heat, for everything.
And it's so funny, there's this scene where they're trying to convince the apes that they need to get the dam working. And he's saying all these complicated... It's almost what I'm talking about right now. Yeah. He's saying all these complicated terms to these apes about what he needs to do, and then he just gives up and he says, you have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? And Caesar just comes over and he goes, lights.
Show me.
It's just brilliant that he, like... You summed it up.
Yeah.
He summed it up. And he almost, in a sense, summed up what I just said. It's just simplify it and the story's better.
Yeah.
It is because of that. And people have been mocking the human characters in this movie. I've seen multiple reviews that knock on the human actors. But they do what they need to do. What do you want? Do you want another half an hour of making these characters deeper? It would be pointless. Yeah. It has no effect on what happens in the story whatsoever. I think they did fine. I think they did good what they could do with what was written for them, and I think it was well done on the human side. It served the purpose it needed to serve.
Because this isn't their story, this is Caesar's story.
Yeah, and what they did do, which they did better than the Matrix sequels, is they made humanity look worth saving. They didn't make humanity look like
the unwashed masses that.
Oh yeah, the cave rave. Like that movie lost me right at the cave rave, the Matrix Reloaded, because I was like, oh my gosh, Reagan was right, Joey Pants was right, Morpheus lied to us, and here he was the villain in the first movie. He was a hero to me. Now when I watched the first Matrix, he's a guy who stood up for what was right. That those people should be destroyed, and we'll all live in the Matrix happily ever after. It's way better than reality.
They never truly destroy us. They just start over. They hit a reset button, and then humanity repopulates. Well, we're not even talking about that.
I know. But what I'm saying is different this time around with Dawn is that humanity looks worth saving. Yeah. Even when there's douchebags. There's guys that are jerks, but they're jerks for a good reason on both sides.
They're jerks because they're afraid. That's the main driving force is fear and mistrust.
Well, with the humans.
And the apes, too.
No, Koba is not afraid. Koba has the best reason I've seen in a long time for a bad guy to be a bad guy. No, he's got scars all over his body. Yeah. Human work. You know, he's pointing at 4 or 5 different scars. I mean, there's horrible.
Well, he's a test animal, so he never saw the good side of humanity.
But you can root for him for a minute. You can be like, I get it. Well, he does take it too far, and that's the lesson. Like, you can have a good reason to do something bad, but it just leads you down a path that you never wanted to go.
War, it's not what you want. There must be another way.
War has already begun.
I don't think Koba wanted to be the ape that killed an ape. He felt like he had to be, and he had to be because more than anything, he wanted to eliminate humans. And was he wrong about that? It's like a conundrum. He's a very deep character. It was refreshing, like all the apes, even Caesar's son, who at first I thought, oh man, they're going to have it's going to be a bunch of bad CGI around Andy Serkis. I thought that's what was going to happen. I don't know who the actor is who played his son, but he did a great job. He made him, with very subtle movements, made him very timid. He made him very sympathetic. Yeah. You could see
they did something for each character, so you know who's who. Like he got attacked by a bear.
Yeah,
so
you always see his scars.
On.
Yeah, and he has the bright blue eyes.
Right. That was the other thing. Blue. They were always commenting. His name was Bright Eyes, wasn't it, or Blue Eyes?
I don't know.
That's what they called them.
I didn't pay attention to that.
Old Blue Eyes.
So he's Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra reborn as an ape.
And he's in San Francisco. I found my banana in San Francisco.
No gay apes, though.
Because it would be too much. What are you getting at? It'd be distracting. It's like there's nothing wrong with having a character.
Like, why?
Let's say, okay. It's wonderful when a couple adopting, in the real world or in a movie, adopting a child from another race who needs help. But when it's in Jurassic Park 2, and you're wondering why Jeff Goldblum's child is black, and then they never address it, it's distracting. And it's fine. There was nothing wrong with that girl's performance. There's nothing wrong with the fact that character existed. But it's distracting. It takes away from what you came to see dinosaurs. Just like this, you came to see apes. It wouldn't matter if there was a gay or straight ape. It's irrelevant. There could be a grape ape.
Grape ape.
Over 40 feet high.
Grape ape.
Just a little bit shy.
Grape ape.
But a super strong guy.
Yep, that's me.
The great grape ape.
And it would be irrelevant to what's going on. Or an Elena ape.
So you would heavily recommend this movie?
Yeah, we got off topic way.
Yeah.
Oh, I would heavily. Yeah, you kidding me? That's the best movie of the year, and that's hard for me to say.
Best movie of the year?
Yes, it's hard for me to say, but it's like I was predetermined to like Godzilla as long as it wasn't anything like '98.
Yeah.
Godzilla did what it needed to do to me. He melted my face off, and that's what I wanted. But this. Okay, that's my 2-year-old. Everyone. But this movie surprised me that it worked so emotionally on me.
Yeah.
It was way better than Rise. Rise isn't even in the same ballpark as this.
This is
movie.
like Batman Begins goes to The Dark Knight.
And before, I don't know if we were recording already, but I told you this was probably the second best. The reason I would say the original is better isn't just because it's the original, but it's just Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is very basic, and it doesn't have a whole lot of themes about human rights or religion. There's not a whole lot you can take outside of the universe that it presents, which is exactly what you can do with the first one. So the first one works on more levels for me. But this is still, I mean, what am I saying? This is a great movie. Go see it.
Somebody said it best online. They're like, I just saw a movie with CGI apes riding horses with machine guns, and while I should have been laughing, I was totally into it.
Yeah, almost crying at points.
Oh, there's a couple parts where, you get a little teary-eyed.
Well, and what I will say for this, there's a moment where you think Caesar's dead, and I thought Caesar was dead. It was like, it was the Gandalf falling into the pit moment, because I hadn't read the books, so I totally thought he was dead, because, I mean, we had a whole hour to go through after that, and it was emotionally exhausting to go through that whole movie.
Yeah.
We'll get into that when I destroy The Hobbit, okay? But anyway...
After we see the third movie,
yeah,
the Battle of the Five Armies.
But yeah, to sum it up, go see it. I mean, that would be my three. That would be my word review.
So yes, go see it. It was excellent. The CGI is good. The
CGI is
shot
great.
of Caesar's face, I was like, wow, that's detailed.
That's like, I'm so tired of saying. This is what I will say about this movie. If he doesn't get nominated for an Oscar for this movie, then the Academy Awards aren't worth even watching or even paying attention to. They mean nothing. They mean absolutely nothing.
Didn't you feel this way last year when Pacific Rim didn't even get a nod for best visual effects?
I felt that this way before, but this is unforgivable if they do this.
Okay.
This is as bad as when they never nominated Peter Sellers for an Oscar.
Yeah.
If they don't give him an Oscar for this, or at least a nod, and acknowledge that he's a great actor, then they deserve nothing from me. Absolutely nothing. I'm not going to watch one of the commercials. I'm not going to pay attention to anything. And I'm not gonna go see the movies that they nominate. I'll take it that far if I have to.
An embargo.
Who run Bartertown?
Damn it! I told you no more embargoes.
Yeah, I don't even like it's pathetic. It really is. How is this any different than like John Hurt or no, not John Hurt, Elephant Man, William Hurt? No, John Hurt. It is John Hurt. Why did you say William Hurt?
Sorry, I didn't know what I was saying.
How is this any different than John Hurt and the Elephant Man? He got an Oscar
Because he
for
was
that.
under pounds of makeup.
Yeah, but he's hiding under makeup.
They see motion capture.
Oh, no, they
differently.
don't.
They do.
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't, but they do.
It's garbage. It's the same as makeup. It's just electronic. It's just that there's these old people that just need to die, that are in the academy, that just need to die. They need to just be. They just need to be in the death montage that they do every year. They need to. We're done with them. We're done with their generation. They've voted for horrible movies enough. Let's vote for Andy Serkis this year.
Okay. We should get some T-shirts made up. I'm with Circus.
Yeah, I am with Circus. Join the circus.
Join the circus.
Join the circus. Yes.
So there you have it. We love the Planet of the Apes movies, and Dawn is exceptionally good. Do you have anything else you want to say about it before we close this out?
Yes, I want to say something about last week's well, not how many weeks ago it was,
Like
Transformers.
3 or 4 weeks,
Yeah, I wanted to actually, I wanted to start this one out with an apology. I don't think people who like Transformers are stupid. Nobody complained about this. It's just when I heard it, I felt like I don't like to do bad criticism.
Yeah.
That isn't constructive criticism to make fun of people who watch a movie. So I apologize for that if I offended anybody with that. I don't think I did, but it didn't sit right with me when I re-listened to the podcast
really?
that I called people stupid. The reason I think where that came from is that I don't like it when guys like Michael Bay and Brett Ratner and any other like hack director just assumes that I'm stupid and that they can make me watch whatever. Just whatever they put up there, I should watch it and shut up. No, I'm working class. I pay hard-earned money to watch this garbage.
Yeah.
I deserve better than to be treated like an idiot. So that's my opinion on it.
Okay.
I apologize to anyone who actually likes Transformers and thinks that I called them stupid. That isn't the case. I just got too emotional about that.
That's okay.
So that's my addendum to
It
last
shows
week's.
your passion for it.
Yes, that's my addendum to the last podcast.
Okay. So that's all we have to say about Planet of the Apes. We're going to do our first ever cultural movie exchange.
Okay, So Jordan and I had an idea, because we're always brainstorming ideas for the podcast to keep it interesting. And we here at the Vault thought it'd be neat if we exchanged movies that the other person didn't see or wouldn't see normally under any other circumstances.
Yeah.
Which turned out to be worse for me than Jordan.
How do you know that?
Because I gave you, like, decent movies. Like, movies that are well made and, like every movie that, like, cause, alright, let's explain the rules. Before we get into it, let's explain the rules of, it's 5 movies. We don't know what we're picking ahead of time.
Yes.
It's like a drawing out of a hat for him, and he has all the DVDs ready in a bag, and I just pick one. So it's a blind pick. Only the person, the opposite person picks the 5 movies.
Yeah.
I went with a theme with mine. I don't think
you did. I didn't realize you were going with a theme because you're like, Planet of the Apes, let's do post-apocalyptic movies.
Yeah, so I did.
I threw everything but the kitchen sink into my bag.
You threw everything horrible that you could find.
No,
I'm
I did
assuming.
Not. No. I threw stuff in that I've seen and I've enjoyed for some reason or another.
Yeah.
And I said, Steve probably hasn't seen this. I think this would work better if we watched the movies together.
Maybe. The basic rule, and they're very easy to understand. We're just picking blind. It's 5 movies, so we have 1 in 5 chance of picking something. And whatever we end up with, we have to watch.
Yeah.
So I had a pretty good set, I thought. All right, so the rules are easy to understand.
Yeah. Well, the idea is to expand our horizons, and sometimes it's to make one of us watch a good movie that we haven't seen, which is me. Because I tend to stray away from like Hollywood movies a lot and big budget films and Oscar winners.
Yeah, well, and we both. Let me get this out of the way. I know you're going to pick bad movies for me every time.
Not every time.
And I don't have a problem with bad movies. They have their own charm.
Yes, exactly.
And you know that. We both grew up on Mystery Science Theater 3000. So, what movie did you pick, Jordan?
Well, out of all the ones you threw into that hat, I picked The Road.
How many people do you think are still alive?
In the world? Not very many.
Directed by John Hill Coates, starring Viggo Mortensen.
Yes.
And Cody Smith McPhee? I don't know how to say his name.
I knew about it when it came out, and it was on my radar, and then I never saw it. And then finally when I decided to go watch it, everyone's like, oh, it's really depressing, and you don't want to watch it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then that's what I happened to pick out of the hat. What you and Chris were like, oh, well, if you want to cut your wrist, that's fine after the movie's over.
Yeah.
It is a gloomy, despairing movie. I think the worst part is when Charlize Theron's character just gives up on life and walks out the door in a flashback. I'm like, oh my god.
There is no worst part. The whole movie is a giant worst part.
It is.
So yeah, I watched The Road. When I watched The Road, I was depressed for at least 2 weeks after I watched it.
It's not the most depressing movie I've seen, but it's up there.
It's just well, if you have a child, it's pretty bad. People think it's a post-apocalyptic movie, and it is on the surface.
Yeah.
The movie is really about the fear of the world you're putting your child into. That's what the movie's about.
And finding a reason to keep fighting to survive.
Yes.
We're gonna die.
We're not gonna quit. We are gonna survive this.
When against all odds, you want your child to believe that they can go on living in this giant turd.
I actually hated that kid in the movie.
Really?
Because he was so optimistic about everything. He always tried to do the right thing. I was like, there's no room for that in this world. You need to die. I was thinking that, but I don't have my own kids, so...
Yeah. But that's the thing, too, though. I mean, the kid's voicing stuff like that, he could have been the reason the dad kept on going after the wife killed herself.
Yeah, I think he was.
And, I mean, they really depict it like the only thing left is them and cannibals.
Yeah.
And
the occasionally skinny person that tries to steal their stuff, a knife point. And the only hopeful thing, I mean, at the end, the kid's adopted by another family of roamers. But, I mean, the only hopeful thing, this whole world's supposedly dead. All the trees are dead. There's no sunlight, which is probably what would happen in this kind of scenario.
Yeah.
But they find a beetle at one point, and I'm like, oh, hey. So not everything was killed. So there's that, like, little thing of hope. The kid's hopeful, and that beetle created a sliver of hope.
I had read the book long before the movie came out, and the book is actually harder to get through emotionally than the movie.
Really?
Yeah, because this is the best book to movie adaptation that you'll ever see. You don't even have to read the book now after you've seen that movie. It is pretty much everything you see happens in the book. There's a little bit here and there, but it gets the tone right, it gets the events right, and Even a lot of the dialogue is straight off the page.
Yeah.
But somehow the book is a little more depressing because when you read a book, you cast your own characters, and I put myself in the role of the dad, and that was just too much to go through.
And I'm pretty jaded because I've seen a lot of horror movies, but I was like horrified when what they find in the basement of that one house.
That is one of the all-time oh my gosh moments in a movie. I think
all the emaciated, filthy people.
Well, and they're waiting to be eaten.
Yeah,
they're waiting to be eaten, basically piecemeal. They're being eaten. And it doesn't help that like they build it up with stuff like, I mean, the cannibals come back home and the one says, I never got used to that smell, and the guy's like, what smell? And she's like, you can't smell it anymore. So you're already like, they're affecting all of your senses about like what's happening, and it's disgusting, and it's just like humanity rearing its ugly head. And just you don't want to believe that in a survival situation the worst people would prevail, but that's basically what that scene is saying. It's a tough movie to get through. I think it's very well acted and well directed.
Oh no, I have no problem.
You can't
with
really
the technical parts of it. I have no problem with.
It's sort of in the vein of Schindler's List, where everything happens, nothing is done poorly.
Yeah.
Everything happens is believable. You're just like, oh, I don't want to know this.
Yeah.
I don't want to see this, but I am. And it's a movie that I will never watch again. I watched it once.
That's exactly what I said.
It's not a movie where I got up and said I'll never watch that again because it was bad.
No.
I just will never watch it again because I don't want to deal with the fact that that's possible. I don't want to think that my children might go through something like that in the future.
Yeah.
And people generally don't.
Yeah.
And I'm not a survivalist, so I'm just not into that aspect of the movie either. It's just not. It's not something that you want to endure. You don't even want the characters that are in it to be going through it.
Yeah.
But it's well done. Have you seen Hillcoat's other movie? I don't know how many movies he's done, but he did do The Proposition. Did you ever see that?
I haven't seen The
It's like a western set in Australia.
Oh, really?
It's like, thematically, it's the same way, where you're just like, oh my gosh, this would happen. I wish it didn't, but it would happen. So, I put it in there, though. It was post-apocalyptic, and I think it's essential. I think it's something that, like, takes the fantasy out of these post-apocalyptic
like
scenarios.
all the Mad Max movies.
Mad Max.
Bronx Warriors.
Or even all the zombie movies. It takes the fun out of it because you really don't want this, people.
Yeah.
You do not want to go through this.
No, you don't.
It isn't fun. It's this. That's what it feels like when you're watching it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I don't want a zombie apocalypse. Maybe I don't want to ride around in an awesome car and like shoot at renegades and marauders.
I actually, after it was over, I looked at Tara. I'm like, we're watching a comedy right now.
Oh, she watched it too?
She watched it with me, and yeah. And
was she a wreck?
She cried. Spoiler alert: Viggo Mortensen dies in the movie.
Yeah.
Which I saw coming a mile away.
Yeah, it's building to that.
Yeah.
Well, that's the climax of the movie is a death speech. I mean, it's the same thing in the book. That's what you read word for word. That's verbatim. It's a death speech.
It's got a death curse.
Like on the second to the last page of the book. Just keep going. That's his advice to his kid. Just leave me here and keep going. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go kill myself now.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to do that speech. So yeah. So I gave you The Road. That wasn't the one I wanted you to have, and you picked again this week, and you still didn't get the one I wanted you to have. I put in Lawrence of Arabia as filler.
I deem him one of the greatest beings alive in our time. We shall never see his like again. His name will live in history. It will live in the annals of war. It will live in the legends of Arabia.
And you picked it. And you picked Lawrence of Arabia.
I've always wanted to watch it, though, because I like Peter O'Toole.
He has a double phallic name.
He does.
That's a Groucho Marx joke. If you ever want to laugh, just go online and look up Groucho Marx quotes.
Okay.
Because almost everything that guy said was amazing.
Alright, so I kind of got off easy. I mean, not emotionally, but you got stuck with...
I got stuck with Monster Dog.
By Claudio Fragasso, the director of Troll 2. I gotta tell you, I found this movie... When I moved up here, I got my first job at Video King when it was still in Susquehanna. And I was pouring through the horror section one day, and I saw a big box, and it had Alice Cooper's name across the top. I'm like, what is this? And it's called Monster Dog. And I was like, huh. So, of course, I rented it, and then I watched the movie, and I was like, this is bizarre. And then I watched it again. And
You watched that twice?
I've seen Monster Dog like 5 times.
Oh my gosh, Jordan, you need to be...
And partially it's because...
You need to be medicated somehow.
Partially it's because I'm a fan of Alice Cooper. And this movie had 2 previously unreleased songs on the soundtrack. It was bizarre. I couldn't take my eyes away from it, and it grew on me. And then, that's the movie you picked. Obviously, I kind of like it. It holds a weird, special place in my heart, but...
I don't dislike it. It just doesn't... Remember how I said earlier, bad movies have their own charm?
Yes.
This has no charm. There's, nothing...
What was your reaction when it started and it's just like a music video?
That didn't bother me. I mean, it's got Alice Cooper in it, but, that's the thing that keeps you going is, I can't believe Alice Cooper is in this. I can't believe Alice Cooper is in this. I can't believe Alice Cooper is in this. And I actually think he ends up being the worst thing about it because you expect more out of it because he's in it.
Yeah.
If he was anybody else in this movie, just some unknown guy,
yeah.
I think I would have been fine with it, but I just, because they got him, I was like, well, if they got him, they could have done better elsewhere. They could have, because it's a somewhat decent plot. But let's break down the top plot for him, because nobody's going to watch this.
You'd be surprised. It has a cult following. Alice
I'm
Cooper
sure it does, but not for the right reasons.
Well, alright, Alice Cooper is a musician named Vincent Raven or something?
Raven. It is Raven, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Vince Raven.
Vince is actually his real first name in reality, I'm pretty positive. So Vince and his group of musicians go to his childhood home.
Yeah.
And...
pretty much anybody in his band doesn't know his backstory.
Yeah,
and I guess his backstory, you don't tell it chronologically because the movie's a mess.
But
the backstory propels everything that's happening in the whole movie. He's a musician going back to his hometown, but that's 2 minutes of exposition.
I actually kind of forget what the family background is.
His dad was everybody thought
right?
his dad was a werewolf.
Okay.
Whether he was or not is up for... I don't think they ever really proved that.
Yeah.
He probably was. Who cares? But so they hunted his dad down and killed him, and he describes, they burn him alive with gasoline and stuff,
which is horrible. So
but he says it he's talking about it's supposed to rain tomorrow. And
then once he comes to town, the locals
his
get leery
past follows him. You can never be. Even Jesus said this: you can never be a Messiah in your hometown. So he comes back, and everybody rather than accepting him as this big hero who made it the big time, they're like, "Oh, you remember what your dad was?"
Yeah. It's strange. It's supposed to be a werewolf movie, and one of the powers of a werewolf is to command packs of dogs to attack people. Apparently.
Yeah. Well, they're the Bumpus hounds from Christmas Story, basically, because they just run through a room and kill everybody and leave. Yeah. In a really haphazard way. Haphazard, however you say it.
And then some of the locals take the law into their hands and try and murder Alice Cooper in his own house.
Yeah, well, okay. You're jumping way ahead. You're jumping to the good part of the movie.
Okay,
There's about an hour of this movie that sets Alice Cooper up as a straw man to be the werewolf.
Yeah.
Because people start dying, of course. And any horror
Well,
movie.
he is the red herring, because someone dies, someone runs away, and all of a sudden there's Alice, consoling the girl that's crying, I saw something!
And you can legitimately, until the last act, legitimately believe that he's the one doing it.
Yeah.
They set it up so it's believable. They do that part well.
Yeah.
But you get until I looked at my Blu-ray player until it hits the hour mark, almost everything you see is unwatchable.
Well, they're trying to build up suspense a lot of times.
They don't do it though. There's no suspense.
They're failing at that. Yeah.
I wish I had to piss so I could have left the room. And then we get to the hour mark, and then the movie picks up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's worth what you went through to get there. It's. At least, and I'll say this, if you're going to watch the movie, you kind of have to go through what they put you through to appreciate, because there's nothing fantastic that happens at the hour mark. It's just finally something is happening.
Yeah.
And it's a decent shootout that he gets into. I like that part.
Yeah. There's a good exploding headshot, isn't
the werewolf effects are so-so. The lighting is weird.
Yeah, the werewolf is a big slimy, it looks like the thing from Ghostbusters.
Well, they don't, and the other thing too, though,
the Hellhound.
They don't even try to hide the lights that are for the lighting. You can see the lights. There's a part where he opens the door and there's a blue light behind him as he's walking in, and you're like, oh, okay, they didn't bother to make sure you couldn't see that.
And then he becomes the werewolf at the end.
That's the big twist.
Hilarious.
What a twist!
He's not the werewolf, but he gets bitten by it and he turns into one.
Yeah, so he's
And then his girlfriend has
It's
to
the
shoot him.
basic unhappy ending that everybody went through in the 70s and 80s.
It was hilarious, though, because they used a lot of bladder effects and, like, fake molds of Alice Cooper's head.
That actually, I was okay with all that. But by then I had given up on the movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a good, fair assessment of it. This is the thing. Claudio Fregosi, who is, he's a minion of Lucio Fulci?
Lucio Fulci.
Okay, Lucio Fulci.
Lucio Fulci.
Zombie.
The Maestro.
Zombie 2, yeah.
Yeah.
Who he makes good movies. Fregosi, like... Fregasso?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Tells you how much
Like,
you
the
this
difference
guy.
is, like, with Troll 2, like, you can't believe what you're seeing, but there's no Alice Cooper distraction.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can't believe what you're seeing, and it's just...
Well, it's the same with this movie, because what I like about it is they're trying to make an interesting movie. They're not, like, doing what sci-fi does today. It says, we're going to get some
That's funny
actors.
you said that, because I was going to say this feels like a sci-fi original.
But...
Because that's what sci-fi does do. They grab somebody who's either at the end of their career or just wants a paycheck,
Yeah.
and puts them in there to get you to watch it, and then they don't put any effort into anything else,
Exactly.
which is sort of what this movie feels like to an extent.
Well,
The best, I'm going to tell you right now,
Okay.
the best actor in this movie is the dog who has the reaction shot when the werewolf comes to the door, because the dog is the best. The dog's the best actor. I was like, oh my gosh. He stops, his eyes get wide, and he's shocked that there's a werewolf coming in. And none of the actors are. So
they all take it pretty well if there's something hunting them in this weird, creepy house.
I can't. I understand why you like it, but see, I had to go through it on purpose. There's a difference when it's sort of like what you said. Maybe we need to sit down and watch it together, because if I could have made fun of it with someone the whole time, it would have been a totally different experience.
Yeah, definitely.
But like just watching it on your own, don't do that. Just don't do that. Do anything else. When I was watching it, I got a Pod People vibe, that's another Spanish movie. Who directed Pod People?
Oh, you would ask me that. Juan Piquer Simon. He
That's
actually
right.
passed away
Yes,
a few years ago.
you're right about that. Yeah, and he did quite a few good movies actually.
He did Slugs.
He did Slugs, which is fun, and he did what's that movie?
There is another one I like by him, and I can't think of it.
And it was put out. Grindhouse put it out. Sage Sloan's Grindhouse.
Grindhouse Releasing did it?
Yeah, look that up.
I'm looking
that
it
up
right now. Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, it reminded me, like, in the way it's staged and shot, it reminded me of Pod People, but Pod People's fun. And it's fun because there's no one recognizable in it, so you don't judge it that way. Alice Cooper doesn't do bad in this movie. He's a good actor. It's just that it's Alice Cooper, so you automatically think that they could have...
anticipate more out of it.
You anticipate more out of it.
Gotcha.
He pulls the movie back in a way that he couldn't control. I would give it a thumbs down if I had a chance.
A thumbs down. Didn't rock your world as I had hoped, huh?
No,
Okay.
and not like I understand why you like it. It's just like it took an hour to get there.
Yeah.
And it was not a interesting hour. I can't say any more about this movie.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I like it is to me it was a discovery. This was like digging
Well,
through.
you do like that. You like Columbusing movies.
Yeah.
And
it's harder to do now that you can go online and be like.
well, yeah, everybody can wiki link their way to some kind of horrible movie.
Exactly.
So yeah, you Columbused it, but any of the natives where Columbus landed would tell you, we've been living here for a long time. You didn't discover anything, and neither did you, Jordan.
Oh.
You didn't discover anything. That movie was not good at all.
Well,
Not even in like a make fun of way. It was.
Well, at least you picked better this week. But once again, you will have to deal with
I will
Claudio
have.
Fregasso,
I will get to see the man.
because you picked.
I picked Best Worst Movie,
Yeah, the
which is that documentary about Troll 2.
Mhm.
Which I remember the first time I experienced Troll 2, and I don't want to talk too much before we get into, because I'll have to review that too. But it was the first movie that I actually had a headache when I was watching it, and I don't know why. It was an onset headache from watching it. So, and I was seriously, I was like 10 years old, so I saw it right when it hit video.
Yeah.
So I don't
found
know
it
whenever that came out. That might have been 12 then.
Yeah. No, I remember finding it at Blockbuster, because I saw the original Troll and I loved it.
Yeah.
And then Troll 2, they made a sequel? This is before the internet. This is like the Blockbuster film guide was the only thing I had to know that other movies existed. And I rented it, and I was like shocked and appalled at what I saw. But then I watched it again and again.
Yeah, it's one of those.
It's a train wreck. You can't look away. And when you watch that documentary, Claudio Fragasso believes that he made a good movie.
I'm sure he does.
He will say that in an interview. He's like, he doesn't understand that people liked it ironically.
Neither does the Room guy.
Tommy was at home.
Yeah.
So okay, I have to do Lawrence of Arabia next.
You're gonna like Lawrence of Arabia is very well done. The only problem with Lawrence of Arabia that you might run into is it's one of those movies that was so great when it came out that everyone stole from it. So you're going to see imagery that you've seen 100 times over.
Okay.
Try to bear in mind when you're watching this, and it's long.
Yeah.
Try to bear in mind when you're watching this that no one had seen a movie like this before. The way he cut it and shot it was just unprecedented. Mm-hmm. And people tried to copy it for decades after that. So, David Lean's one of my all-time great directors.
Yeah.
I'll watch anything that he's done.
All right. And you get to watch Best Worst Movie, which is directed by the kid from Troll 2.
Yep. So,
and I will tell you, it's an emotional roller coaster because you're going to laugh at a lot of things. You're going to laugh at the reactions of some people to the film. You're going to laugh about how they made the film. And there's also some very sad things in it, too. Because I told you one of the stars from the film is a little crazy.
Okay.
And it's really sad when they interview her.
Well, we'll talk about that after I watch it.
Yeah.
All right, so you wanted to get into some Comic-Con rumors to wrap up the show?
Yeah. I've been following San Diego Comic-Con news since Thursday.
Yeah.
And they're releasing... This has been a good year. The next year and a half is going to be very good for us nerds. They released a new Ant-Man poster, which looks cool. But my only complaint about it is that Paul Rudd and... Is it Michael Douglas that plays
Yeah, it's
Hank
Michael
Pym?
Douglas.
They have the floating head thing in the background. Like, it's a beautiful poster, and then their heads are just kind of floating in the background.
Well, they tried to Indiana Jones it.
Yeah.
Those iconic Star Wars and Indiana Jones posters.
Drew Struzan it.
Yes.
Yes. He's coming out of retirement to do the Star Wars posters, it said.
I'm not surprised. So is John Williams.
That's true. Well, he never fully retired.
He hasn't done anything. He only does, like, he's old, so he does stuff he wants to do. So he likes the Star Wars universe. He's going to do the music for that. And evidently, so does Drew. So.
Mm-hmm. Joaquin Phoenix may or may not be Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I saw also Benedict Cumberbatch joked that he was going to be Doctor Strange, which is not a good joke because I would be okay with that.
I would be very okay with that.
That's like a joke is like an exaggeration. Like, oh, I don't know. Like, let's say Corey Feldman as Doctor Strange would be a joke.
I'd watch that, though.
I know you would, because you watched Monster Dog.
The new Batman cape and cowl has been
Did you
revealed.
see Wonder Woman today?
I did.
Oh my god.
Generic warrior woman?
If you're going to change the costume, at least try to be like, or we're going to change it to make it more practical. All you would have to do is punch her in the tits, and she'd be down. Like
You're not supposed to be able to get that close to her. She's a warrior queen.
I didn't like. It's all brown, and it looks like.
I think that's going to be like the Thor thing. Like, this is her armor. Where the hell is she from? She's an Amazon from.
She looks like She-Ra. Okay, and it's not good.
You act surprised by this.
But then go make She-Ra. Okay.
It's coming. I'm sure it's coming.
I'm sure it's
Next year
coming
it'll get
too.
announced.
But she looks like She-Ra. She doesn't look like Wonder Woman. If you're gonna change her, then do something practical or believable.
This is her pre-Wonder Woman costume.
She's
Later
Wonder
in the movie,
Woman warrior princess.
She'll have the stars and stripes on her bra. Don't worry.
Whatever.
They showed footage from the new Batman Superman movie, and like I thought,
is that real footage?
It was real footage.
Yeah.
They're doing what I think they're doing. This The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller's story.
Yeah.
They're saying that Ben Affleck's Batman is in like his bulky armored suit that looks like it's straight out of that comic, and he's on the roof of the police headquarters where they keep the bat signal. And I guess in the little teaser they shot, he pulls a drape off of the bat signal, and the camera pans up, and Superman's looking down on him. His eyes are glowing red, and he looks pissed. And then like it just cuts away after that, and the fans went nuts for it.
Of course they did. They're at Comic-Con. They go nuts.
Well, you know, it's the whole crowd.
That's all they do at Comic-Con is get pulled around by the nose.
Well, I'm getting it secondhand.
I didn't. Look, you didn't like Man of Steel. Why should you like this? It's the same guy who's going to butcher it the same way.
I'm more excited about the Batman aspect of it.
I'm not at all. how is he going to drop the Boston accent? He's not.
How do you know
I've never heard him do it.
Batman.
The only time, actually, that's not true. I heard him do it in Shakespeare in Love.
What about reindeer games?
All right, moving along.
What else have I seen?
I posted the Pacific Rim Jaeger pilot simulator.
Yeah, from Oculus Rift.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything about that though. I heard it mentioned, but nobody's written anything. It
just seems like a promo for Oculus Rift now. I was excited when I first heard it.
Yeah.
And then I'm starting to realize that it's just a way for Oculus Rift to become relevant.
Oh, okay.
Just like when Facebook bought it. But Facebook could buy anything. Facebook could buy Indiana right now. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't make Indiana a place you want to go. So the problem with Oculus Rift, people are already antisocial enough with their touch phones. Now you're going to put something on your face.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. Now you're gonna put something on your face and not even see people around you. I don't think it's gonna catch on. It's 40 years out because this technology that we're using on a daily basis now, touchscreens have been around for decades. Yeah. It's not a new thing.
It's not new. But it fits in your pocket.
It's just not new. It just became cheaper to make. That's why it's more prevalent. So I'm not excited about that either. Okay. I'll be excited when they make a real Jaeger. That's when I'll be excited.
Japan's the closest to it. Scream Factory, you know how I love that company.
Yeah.
They released their slate for the remainder of this year and the start of next. It looks like they bought out most of MGM's catalog. Mm-hmm. So they're doing collector's editions of Mad Max, Escape from New York, UHF, that's going to be a Shout Factory title, but UHF's getting the Blu-ray treatment. They're doing Dolls, which is actually a favorite of Tara's. My fiance loves that movie for some reason. And there's a couple other titles that are really cool, and I was kind of shocked that they announced them. So I'm looking forward to those, particularly Escape from New York, because I know it's going to be packed with extras.
Yeah. The news that came out of nowhere for me was the Westworld one that you told me about.
But yes, HBO has the rights to Westworld, and they're making a television series about it.
Yeah.
With Anthony Hopkins as the creator of the theme park. And then Evan Rachel Wood's going to play a robot that doesn't know she's a robot.
And you said Tremors is getting rebooted too?
Yeah, there was other news. It wasn't Comic-Con related, but Tremors is getting rebooted. It's coming straight to DVD as far as I know. It's going to have a low budget, so it's destined to be bad. Which kind of makes me sad, because did you ever hear what the fifth movie would have been?
No.
They intended to call it The Thunder Down Under, and they were going to try and get Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward and Michael Gross all back together, and they were going to throw in Paul Hogan. So you'd have Crocodile Dundee with the main characters.
That was never going to happen.
Yeah.
Stop lying.
This is what they intended. It never happened.
No, you're lying to me.
I'm not making this up.
There's no one with an idea that good.
But obviously, they couldn't get Kevin Bacon or Fred Ward. Michael Gross probably signed on a heartbeat. And Paul Hogan, I think, is retired from acting.
Because Michael Gross knows his place in life. Okay?
He is Burke.
Kevin Bacon doesn't. Yeah.
Oh, also, one last thing.
Yeah?
They're doing a feature-length film of The Last of Us. Sam Raimi's producing.
Oh, yeah, I heard of that. I haven't played the game. I heard good stuff about the game.
I've heard excellent stuff.
It seems like something Sam would do.
But while they were talking about that, he dropped that he and his brother Ivan Raimi and Bruce Campbell are trying to develop an Evil Dead TV series.
I'm at the point where, with Evil Dead, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that would be easier to do than a live-action movie.
They've been stringing us along with that kind of stuff for a long time.
I think they really want to do it. It's just it's like we're getting old.
By now, it's got the feel of Dumb and Dumber 2, where like we waited about 10 years too long to do this.
That's true. I still want to
Bruce Campbell, as much as I like him, is just a little too old to be Ash. I mean, are we supposed to believe that Ash should be... Because, like, Ash is just this youthful, ignorant, cocky guy.
Yeah.
When you run into a guy like that and he's 50, you think immediately, oh, this is the old guy who goes to the bar. Who never got a family and never really changed his...
Walks through the door with a 20-year-old girlfriend, right?
Yeah. I don't want that for Ash. And I'm afraid if they play it that way, it'll hurt my memories. I don't want my memories hurt. They're very precious to me.
I'm curious to see what they do with it.
Of course you are. You wanted to see a Jaws remake.
I didn't want to see a remake.
You just don't be
so... I want to see a new adaptation of the original work.
No, but you're like, oh, there's an asteroid going to hit the Earth. Well, I want to see if it just hits half the Earth and we all survive somehow. That's what I want to see. It's coming. It's going to blow everything up. Everything's going to die, Jordan. Watch The Road again.
No.
Deal with reality.
No, I refuse. I refuse your reality.
Other than that, a lot. And honestly, I've been checking a lot, and there's not a lot of news coming out of Comic-Con yet. I mean, this is the big Saturday right now while we're speaking.
We're missing all the good stuff right now.
There's good stuff happening at the moment.
Yeah.
And we'll touch up on it on our next cast.
Sure.
So far, there hasn't been anything. I mean, you may be optimistic, but so far, I'm like, it's so weird. Other than Godzilla, I wasn't very excited for this year, and this year's been the best year for movies for me for a while.
Especially next
Even though the box office is tanking for some reason, the movies overall I thought are well done.
Yeah.
That is a more sign to me of the end times than a bunch of cannibals who collect people in the basement. All right, so let's close it here. Thanks for listening, guys, and I hope you enjoyed our messy cultural exchange.
It'll get better. We'll tighten this up. It'll be really good next time.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
It'll give me a chance to see movies I haven't seen before. So, Silent Steve signing out.
And Jordan Garrett signing out. We'll see you next time, everybody.